Hello, and welcome to the Leaders and Their Stories podcast. I am Richard Lowe, the writing king and ghostwriting guru, and I'm here with Deanna Farnell. She's got some great things to say about stress, some great solutions, some help that she can give you. So take it away, Deanna.
Hi. Thank you very much, Richard, for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. We're at a time where there is so much change in the environment around us that, every day is a struggle to make sure that we can keep our mind and body connected, right? So, from a bi-directional standpoint, and that is something that I work on every day. So, I really appreciate you having me on here so we can talk about how to maybe eliminate some of the stresses in our life.
Yes, I've eliminated a lot of stress points in my life. Like I don't read the news anymore. That's a major stress point. I stay away from social media that's about news related stuff. And I've done a lot of things to keep the stress low because who needs it?
No, well, we don't. I mean, I was a corporate girl for, 30 years. I'm a CPA by trade, and, running big businesses was, something that I used to define myself for many years. And I let all of the other really important things in my life take a back burner to those, to running other people's companies, which ultimately I'm not involved with anymore. They didn't serve me in any other way than maybe an income for all those years. So I think it's super important that we focus on the ways to live, not the ways to work. So, it's just a mindset shift.
I look at it as the ways to live or ways to die. I
Well,
think
we're all
work
going to die. So it
is
just depends.
work.
Unless you're doing something that you're passionate about, that's the key for me these days is, there's always going to be stresses in your life, but it's how you manage those stresses. And one of the key things for me is doing something that I enjoy, every day. Not all of us have an opportunity to do that, but yet we can. There are ways in which we can actually add things into our days that will allow us to reduce that stress, even when we aren't doing exactly what we want to be doing every moment of every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, who wants to pay taxes, for example? I don't want to do that, but that's going to be a little stressful. Unless you got it covered, then it's not stressful anymore. That's what I found is a big reducer of stress is making sure that those little stress points are handled so they're not stressful anymore. Making sure my health is right, making sure I'm doing the right thing. I love being a ghostwriter. It's my passion. So I'm passionate about things. And then things that are stress points, I either eliminate or fix as a rule, not always.
Well, what I've learned over the last several years is that unless you make your health a priority, everything else falls. So, it's why I've created the communities in which I have. We've just opened up the first of its kind autoimmune mental health facility because we understand that, the stresses in our life actually cause those igniting in the body. And if we can't get that under control, then we are definitely no good for anybody, most importantly for ourselves. And so I've gone into this deep dive of really working, with leaders in the community, me running my own program for sanity, because I was big corporate and I quit and opened up Holistic Healing Center, mental health and addiction recovery, and now an autoimmune, first one in the state of California, in fact. And so we're really working to teach people how to reduce those stresses by all the little things that we can do, like nutrition being a huge, huge component of it. And a lot of people don't really understand what that means or looks like. But there are very simple things that we can do that will really impact our lives in a very positive way. And I can share certainly some of those tips here now. We have this nourishment and wellness pamphlet that we give out now to everybody that we meet. Just the little tiny things that you do every day that become your habits that really change the way in which you view your health. So that's been super important for our community.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I found a book called Atomic Habits worked a lot to help to get rid of stress for me. It's not an obvious connection, but Atomic Habits says change by 1% a day. It doesn't sound like a lot until you realize it's 365 days in a year, it's 365%. So every day
Absolutely.
I make a positive change in my life, and every day the negative goes smaller and smaller. Of course, I'm human, so I focus on the negative, right?
Boy, no, I try not to do that. I there's this book that I've been really following, and I've been buying for our community when they come to our auto. We have this. It's called The Body Speaks. We do it twice a month, where people come, and it's an autoimmune support group. And one of the books that I like to give it's called Sustain Me by
Uh-huh.
Barbara O'Neill, and it is Sustain Me is an acronym, and it stands for sunlight, use of, oh, for goodness sakes, sleep, use of, why did I just lose it? I cannot believe this. I've said it 1,000 times. Use of water, sunshine, trust in a higher power,
Water.
abstaining, inhaling, so oxygen, nutrition, moderation, and exercise. And what it does is it's really layman. It breaks it down into each part of the body. So your eyes, your mouth, your kidneys, your pancreas, your liver, every single part of your body. And it tells you that if you work on each of those things that are part of the acronym, that you can get your body back into balance holistically without the need for medications and going and using Western doctors, which is super important for me and my community. We understand that there is medical necessity, and we understand that there's drugs that are needed to help us, but they're really taking care of the effects of the underlying cause roots, right? That we're trying to really work on. So that book has been instrumental in my life, and it's been instrumental in many, many of our communities' lives. And it's really simple. I mean, it's things we already know, like get out in the sun at least 15 minutes every day, no matter what you do. Some interesting facts that I learned too is if you're lighter skinned versus darker skinned, you don't need as much sunlight to get the
Interesting.
vitamin D.
Interesting.
So we're just learning all of these really amazing things. Minerals like Celtic salt, super easy. Just take some Celtic salt, a few granulars underneath your tongue every morning with water. You get 82 minerals that are flowing through your body. It's an instant pickup in your day. That's all you got to do. I mean, it costs, $7 on Amazon, and it's something that will really make a functional difference in your body
Those
that
are
you'll
called
start
cell
feeling
salts?
very quickly.
Those are called cell salts? Celtic? Okay. I've taken something called cell salts. It's just cell salts, but maybe it's the same thing with a different name. You put them under your tongue.
Yeah, under your tongue. You can use Himalayan salt, but it just doesn't have as many minerals in it. It
Okay.
has, about 20 less minerals than the Celtic. So, there's things like this that we can do. I can share with you lots of things. What do you do? What is it that you do to reduce your stress?
Well, first of all, I try and get rid of the bad habits. And like most people, I've built up a lot over the years. Overeating and being diabetic, overeating is not a good thing. Just being stressed out about negative self-talk. So I don't do that anymore. I do positive self-talk. And if I find myself doing negative self-talk, change the subject, just like I would with somebody else. Avoid the news, avoid social media, negative social media. I use social media for business, so that's different. Market my business right and get business in instead of doing random stuff and not getting business in and then being stressed about business. Having positive relationships, if anybody's the least bit toxic, I either fix it or get rid of them. I don't need any toxicity in my life. I think the word toxic is overused, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah, somebody who's not helpful to me, well, harmful to me especially. It doesn't have to be not helpful, harmful. And sometimes that's very, very subtle. For creative people, toxicity that's subtle is really bad. Just, why are you working on that? Could be taken as a toxic, that seems pretty useless to me. These negative comments to creative people can undermine their entire creative ability. And as a ghostwriter and a writer, can't have that. And a lot of customers come to me because they're facing that from people in their life. But you said something earlier that I wanted to comment on about the difference between Western doctors. I learned the difference quite interestingly. I have bad knees, so arthritis. So they were hurting. So I went to I'm glad I did them in this order. I went to an Indian doctor first, one of those specialists who changes your knees, fixes your knees, so he gives you new ones. And I went in and I said, what do you think, doctor? As soon as I got there, so within a couple minutes, I said, I got sore knees. What do you think? Do I need new knees? And he looks at me and he says, what do you mean? You haven't even examined me yet. How do you know that? And he said, because you asked. What do you mean I asked? He says, if you needed new knees, you'd come in here and you'd tell me you needed new knees. So then I said, okay, fine. So I went over, he gave me this stuff, these various herbs and things, glucosamine and things like that to take. And then I went over to an American doctor. Walked in, I said, doctor, my knees hurt. He said, good, we can have you scheduled for surgery tomorrow. That fast. And I was like,
Yeah.
you haven't even examined me
Yes.
yet. And that was the difference. And I realized I got lucky there because I did them in the right order. And that's 15 years ago. I haven't had surgery. My knees ache once in a while, but they're fine. Maybe I'll need them, maybe I won't. It's usually a good thing to wait till after you're 65 to get new knees anyway. And I was much younger than that. I was just overdoing it, not taking the right supplements and probably focused on them too much. So yeah, Western doctors are important. If there's a point at which I need new knees, I want the best doctor I can get, and I don't care where that doctor's from. And I'll know when I need new knees because it will hurt. And he made that really clear, the Indian doctor. He says, when you need new knees, you will come in here and you will say, curse, 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 give me new knees.
Yes, that's exactly right. I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis 6 years ago, and I have the leading hepatologist out at UCLA, but I refused all meds. I refused the biopsy. I went straight to, and it's an overused word as well, but holistic healing, alternative healing, functional healing. That's what I did. In fact, I went all over to many different healers, and because I had to do that while I was still working a very stressful job at that time, that's when I quit and I opened up my own holistic healing center that had about 60 modalities in one location so I could heal. And I used all of the alternative medicines. It's what I include in all of my recovery now. PEMF therapy, the beamer, that's all of the electromagnetic that, is in the astronaut suits when they go into space that keeps all that anti-inflammatory down in the body. Red light therapy, near infrared therapy, hyperbaric, ozone therapy, energy healing, meditation, sound bowls, EFT tapping. There is so much that you can do to release the stress in your body these days, which 20 years ago people were like, what are these woo-woo things that people are talking about? Those woo-woo things have been around for centuries, long before Western medicine came, here. So they really work, very much so. And that is a huge part of the stress relief in my life every day, including all the other stuff, like just normal stuff, taking a walk, having a hot shower, drinking some tea, getting
Right.
rid of like you said, the people in your life that bring negativity.
Well, I found that going to the local botanical garden and looking at flowers really reduces the stress. Not something I would have thought of when I was a kid. It wasn't considered masculine, but I'm older now and I don't care. I go look at the flowers and
I
have a
love
good
that for
time.
you.
Yeah, I rejected all this masculine, feminine stuff, and I just do what I do.
I don't think there's anything that's gender specific. So we should all be open minded to any of the healings that are out there. My grandparents were horticulturalists, so I love gardening, as you mentioned. It's an amazing thing. In fact, the autoimmune facility is on 1.5 acres, and the entire property is gardens. They're walking paths with these amazing flowers that we've been, curating there. So I understand. I go out every day and walk in the garden and pick, and it's an amazing thing. Of course, I have to wear 100 sunscreen and a big
Me too.
huge brim hat because I'm about as pale as they come.
Well,
So that's the other contradiction to sunlight.
I'm basically Scottish, Irish, and Austrian. You can't get more pale skin than that. But I like butterflies, as you can see.
I love that.
And so I go to butterfly farms once in a while. And those are from butterfly farms in South America and in Africa. So they're actually from farms. But I go to butterfly tents and things. And that's really relaxing, looking at butterflies and stuff.
Have you been to the one in Vancouver?
I've never been out of the country. I haven't been to Vancouver. There's
Okay.
usually one around.
There's one in Texas I went to a couple years ago, and they had thousands of butterflies in the atrium. But the most beautiful one I've seen is up on Vancouver Island. They have the butterflies there too. So I get it. I love that you love that.
My favorite is going to the spider tent. It's in California, and they have spiders that are literally that big, and they're hanging about right
No,
there.
no, 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 no,
Now,
no.
I find it very relaxing. They're only mildly poisonous, so they won't hurt you very much. But it's bigger than my hand. The whole tent has several hundred of them in it, and it's something you better not have an aversion to
You are saying
spiders.
spiders, right?
Big old spiders about that big. Yeah,
For goodness
it's
sake.
in the Los Angeles Natural History Museum, or it was many years ago. It's been a long time, but that was fun. That was fun. The girl I was with wouldn't
No,
go in there.
okay, this is so weird you're saying this. I just went to a meeting last week and you picked out of a hat, right? And it said to learn about each other. It was an icebreaker. And my question was, what is your most irrational fear? This was mine. And mine was, so my mom died last summer.
I'm
And
sorry to
when
hear
she
that. Sorry.
died, thank you. I appreciate that. I had bad dreams about spiders. And then I saw spiders everywhere. And then I got this really weird fixation on learning about spiders, especially like the brown recluse and the black widow, to see how popular they were down here in the Southern California area. And I have this very irrational thing that I do now every night. I shake out my sheets and I look underneath my pillows before I get into bed because I have this irrational fear that I'm going to get bit because I heard that brown recluse spiders like to burrow in bed sheets and in your closets. So now when I take my boots out, I turn them upside down and I pound them on the ground, and it's this. And you're like, oh, I love going to see the spiders. I'm like, are you nuts?
I'm afraid of
That's fun.
heights. So every few years I go up in a hot air balloon, and I'm afraid of small spaces just a little bit. So every few years I go down into a cave and do some spelunking. And crawling through caves is called spelunking. And that's even worse because sometimes you're hanging from a ladder over a 200-foot drop, and it's a rickety ladder. And I always go with a guide because those places are very terrifying. I can confront my fears, but talk about anxiety before going. Oh my God. But afterwards, it's like such a rush. Like I did it. I confronted the fear. But
So
the
I
thing
think
about
what I'm
cave,
hearing you say is that I should go put myself in spiders.
well, spiders are poisonous. All of them are, every single one, to a certain greater or lesser degree. The thing about spelunking and going into caves is it's dark, and there are lots of creepy crawly critters down there, and they crawl all over you while you're crawling through the cave, and it's very, very weird.
No,
But one of
no, no,
one
no,
of my
no, 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 no.
Carlsbad Cavern has a hotel in the middle of a cave, 700 feet under the ground, and I want to stay there. It's $800 a night, and I still want to stay there. It's pitch black.
Gosh, I
It's
love you.
but I found that confronting fears can help with anxiety. Of course, not while you're ramping up to it, but afterwards, it's like, wow, I did it. I didn't die from being in a hot air balloon, and or I didn't die from spiders. I'm not afraid of spiders. But millipedes, those are cool going up and down. LA Natural History Museum has all this cool stuff. They'll take a millipede out and it's about this long and they'll let it crawl all over your arms.
No, that will definitely not be me. No.
Yeah, well, this
But I
conversation went
get,
in a
I hear
weird
what you're
direction, but
saying.
that's okay.
It's okay. You know what? It's facing your fears. And I do agree with that. That can certainly reduce stress and anxiety. I just think it depends on how devastating your fear might be. Oh my God, that would stress me out. I'd probably have a heart attack. No, but one of the things that
I'm
I
not.
find with, go ahead.
I was going to say you've got a lot of
Sorry,
techniques
I
for.
didn't, we
You've got a lot of talk about that people can use to fight stress. I think fighting stress is very important because stress really is a killer.
well, a lot of the stresses in our life start. Are you getting a lag on your side? Because I'm getting a little bit of a lag on mine.
A big one. I'm just ignoring it.
You are. Okay.
Six to
Sorry.
10 seconds. 6 to 10 second lag.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think all the stress starts in our body, most of it. I know that we have environmental factors like watching the news, social media, which, by the way, I agree with you. I don't, some people think that makes me uneducated. I'm not uneducated. I know what's happening in the world. I just choose not to, look at it 24/7 to where I'm stressed out all the time. I like to more focus on the things that bring me peace, like my dogs and my children, the outdoors and nature and flowers. But I think that everything about health and stress starts within yourself. So you really have to do a body scan and a gut check. That is number one to getting your balance back in your body and being less
Interesting.
stressed. And I think that food is one of the number one things that actually causes stress within the body, because once your gut is out of whack, it's connected to your mind. So if you can't get both of those in check, your entire system is going to be out. So it is super important to finally admit that there's something wrong, something is going on. In fact, my tagline these days is, have you listened to your body lately? And most people don't, because they don't want to hear the story that it's telling them. But in that alone will create all of the other amplified things to become much more stressful. So we have to do that first internal body scan and gut check for us to really
Yes,
start
I agree
reducing that
100%.
stress in our life. Yeah. And then it's learning. Most people, they want a quick fix.
Well, yeah, that's why everybody goes for this symptom. We lost you. You're
Am I
back.
back with you?
You are.
Okay, I'm gonna move. I'm wondering if it's me, so I'm gonna take a
Or
little
what?
peruse.
You're over wireless.
I'm over white.
Yeah, you're probably
Okay.
calling from your phone. That's what's doing it.
No, I'm on my computer.
The computer's probably on wireless. That'll do it.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna kind of,
Much better.
yeah.
Well, we're getting near the end anyway. Stress is, when my wife passed away, it was just the stress. Well, before she passed away, she was extremely ill. COPD, asthma, and smoking are not things that go together well. Add to that a daily dose of steroids, and you've got a recipe for disaster. And she was sick for 8 years. So became her caregiver, and of course, it didn't put her in a good mood. And anyway, that whole thing was extremely stressful, and that's where I learned about butterfly farms. And after that, I learned about how to get rid of the grief and so forth by picking up the camera and photographing things. So I went to every national park in Southern California and in the Southwest United States. I went to all of them. Renaissance fairs, dance shows, WWE matches. Those are fun for stress because you get to watch people beat themselves up. It's got to meet the Undertaker, who's a wrestler. Somebody will know who that is. You've got techniques that for stress, and I'm sure they can go to your website to find all those things out. The thing is I think it's kind of unique to individuals. There are some things that work, some things that don't for each individual. For me, butterfly farms are great. Crawling through caves is great. Doing these podcasts actually helps a lot because I'm tending to be an introvert and I'm stuck in the house all the time because I don't want to go outside. So I talk to people on this podcast. And for other people, doing a podcast would be super stressful.
Yeah, yes. Being in front of the camera is always very stressful for me, as I mentioned. So, it's something that you seem very comfortable with, which is great.
Wasn't initially. I was very shy, but I overcame it because I found I could not be shy and be marketing at the same time. That doesn't work. Not if I'm doing it myself. So It sounds like it'd be very useful for people to see. Where can they find you?
Well, the company is highlandsandbloom.com, so you could take a look there.
High Highlands.
Yeah, HIGHLANDS in
Oh, okay.
bloom.com.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the residential healing community. And it also has all of our body speaks and our lunch and learns and things like that. All that's free, by the way. If people that are
Cool.
dealing with autoimmunes ignited in the body, it's a really wonderful place for them to come and have community because that's what we're trying
Nice.
to do. Yeah.
Nice. Well, if you're having stress problems, go there. Get on your web browser and go there.
It's more. I mean, there's 100 plus autoimmunes, and most of them are due to toxic stress. So yes, it's more about if they have an ignite in the body, mental health connector, then yes, we're bi-directional on our healing approaches. So yes, I would love
Nice.
to have people join the community and learn from lots of experts in the field.
Well, thank you for appearing on the podcast. It's been fun. I think we had a great conversation. Enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
Is
you
there
as
any
well. Thank you.
is there any final words you'd like to say to the listeners?
No, just make sure you take many vacations every day and remember that you are the most important thing. And without you here, nothing else matters. So you need to put yourself first, no matter what you've got going on in your life. It is not selfish, it is survival.
Thank you very much. This has been the Leaders and Their Stories podcast. I am Richard Lowe, the writing king and ghostwriting guru. And thank you for watching. As you know, this is a daily podcast. So come back tomorrow and watch some more. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Have a good day.